Those are some examples of student writing after doing the exercise. So in your introductory paragraph, in all of your paragraphs, there are some techniques you can use to make your writing more interesting. Let's speak for a moment about similes. Does anyone know what a simile is? A simile. What is a simile? Compares two things. Mm-hmm. And usually uses what two words? Exactly. Oh, and the two things that they're comparing, are they usually things that fit together? Not always. They're often things that are unlike each other, two different things. Compares two different things or ideas using like or as. Can anyone think of an example? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, and that's kind of tough, but can anyone think of one they may have heard? Think about being angry and a simile that maybe you could do with anger, the idea of anger.
A lion.
Angry as a lion, very good. I'll share some that the students wrote. This is one of my favorites. This is Holly from St. Ignatius in Belize City. She was gray like the clouds when it wanted to rain. Oh, so it's great. I was crying like a newborn baby. And that was a standard 6 guy who wrote that in his story. So there's the two different things. One night when the moon was bright like gold and the forest was calm like a sleeping dog. Nice. And that was Nancy from Bishop Martin. His anger exploded like a volcano. With strong word choice makes or breaks a story. And we have words we use all the time in our regular speaking that it's not like we would sit around and say to each other, if you were really angry, it's not like you're going to say, man, I was angry like a volcano. You're just going to say I was angry. You're not going to do that when you're speaking. But in your writing, it makes it more interesting. So the strong word choice, we might say, I was running down the street when we're telling somebody something, but in a story, so let's talk about the word run, because this often appears in the stories, this word. Run. Can you think of a more interesting word for run? Speeding? Sure. Speeding. Speeding down the street. Speeding down the street. Speeding? Sure. That would work. I was speeding down the street. One that I hear a lot here that starts with a D. Exactly. Dash? How about another one? Jog. There you go. Exactly. So the really fast one. Yes. Sprint. Yep. How about for walk? There's so many different ways. If Ishtabai was walking, she doesn't just walk. What does she do? She struts. Sometimes the guys at the club do that. Great. So you strut. How about another word for walk? Stride. There we go. Yeah. Stride. How about another way? Stroll. Amble. One of my favorites, wander. You could go for a jaunt. You could, oh, my other favorite. This is what I do when I go to market. It starts with an M. I meander. If your leg was hurt, you twisted your ankle, limp. Exactly. You might limp. If you were a little baby, what might you be doing? Crawl. Yeah. This makes your story more interesting when if you're meeting La Llorona face to face, rather than having run all the time, I ran away from her, I sprinted away from her as fast as I could, she dashed behind me, I hid behind a tree, I peeked out slowly, she was wandering in between the trees. It's much more interesting than she walks, she walks, she walks, she walks. It adds more interesting rhythm to your story. How about another word that we use a lot? Look. Look or see. How about some other interesting words for look or see? Observe. Yes, very good. Another one? This one. Ooh, stare. Very good. Another one. Spy. To spy or spied. Very good. So spy or spied. Very good. More. How about more? If I'm doing this, what am I doing? Peek or peep? Yes. Another one, peer. There are a lot of cool P ones. Peek, peep, peer. If I'm seeing something for the first time, I'm on a table, it starts with the letter N. Something that I'm just seeing on the table, I hadn't seen it before. Anybody know? Notice. Yeah, notice. It's another good one. Notice. If I'm really looking for something really hard, I can't find it. I'm looking at my keys. I'm search. Oh, here's my other one. I love this one. Gaze, glimpse, gawk. Gaze, glimpse, gawk, glance. The last verb I want to use, because we may be using dialogue in the story, the word said. Think of different ways that a person could say something because of the tone of voice. So if someone's saying something really loud, rather than they said that, what word could you use instead of said? Shout. How about some more for something that's really loud? Someone's saying something really loud. Exclaimed. Very good. Another one. Excellent. These are excellent. Screamed. Very good. How about if someone's really sad? Oh, they might whisper. Sure. I'm so sad. Cried. Yes. Cried. Sobbed. Sobbed. That's a really, because that one really gives you a picture in your head. Sobbed. Whimper. Excellent. Yes. Very good. Whimper. How about if you were saying something you were really, really proud about? You were really, really proud about it. Really super proud. Say it again. Yes, bragged. Bragged, boasted. Very good. Bragged, boasted. If it's a question, are you saying it? You are asked. This is one, that's an important one, because students use the word told when often they really mean ask. She told me, what are you doing? So that's an important one to point out to the students because it is different. So asked, questioned, acknowledged, added, admitted, advised, agreed, denounced, answered, approved, argued, assumed, assured, asked, babbled, bargained, began, boasted, bragged, called, claimed, commanded, commented, complained, cried, decided, demanded, denied, described, dictated, emphasized, estimated, exclaimed, explained, expressed, giggled, grinned, grunted, indicated, insisted, instructed, laughed, lectured, lied, mentioned, moaned, mumbled, murmured, nagged, noted, notified, objected, observed, ordered, pleaded, pointed out, prayed, predicted, questioned, reassured, related, repeated, replied, responded, requested, restated, revealed, roared, ruled, scolded, screamed, shouted, shrieked, snapped, sneered, sobbed, spoke, sputtered, stammered, stated, stormed, suggested, taunted, thought, told, urged, uttered, vowed, wailed, warned, whispered. Yes. Not just he said, she said, he said, she said. Boring. Wow, to add all those in there. And please, when you're using dialogue, when there's two characters speaking to each other, can you please tell me the punctuation we would use? What would we use? Yes. Can you explain where I put them? So let me write a sentence on the board that the students would write. Where do I put the quotation marks? Where do I put them? In front? Okay, in front of help. And after I. Oh, thank you. Where? After help? Uh-huh. And after the. Great. And how about in the no way? In front of no. After way. And what punctuation do I want? A comma. Exactly. This is really important to share with the students because they're very confused about this punctuation. This is one that I speak to them often about it. Often they'll put the marks here around this part rather than around the speaking. So that's really important. And with having this excellent word choice, now you can have all sorts of interesting things happening during the dialogue. Other words that are really important are transitions. On the other hand, otherwise, before, after, next, during, meanwhile, finally, next. students often will use, and you've probably seen this if you've already been in the classroom, then. You're nodding your head. My other favorite, so. I actually asked them to go back and take leave one. You're allowed to have one. And then all the other so's you have to cross out and think of something else you could put. Can anyone think of some other transitions that might relate to time? For time. So we have at first, finally. Can you think of others that might help with, if you had a whole bunch of events you were talking about, how you could help your reader get from one to the next? Can you think of any others? We had meanwhile, something else was going on. Suddenly, very good, yes. Eventually, very good. Any others come to mind? That's great. Finally, yep, we've got that one. How about if it's happening right now? Immediately. Afterward. And as the young man was using, when he said on the other hand, you can use things, there's, of course, naturally, surprisingly. There's so many transitions that can be used, and they really make the writing stronger. So what I'd like you to do, you have a choice. When I work with the students, I'm going to actually demonstrate how I do it exactly in the classroom, but you have a choice. Usually I give them the first sentence, because sometimes that can be really difficult to figure out how to start. So I give them what's called a prompt. So if you wish, you may start your story with a prompt, or you may begin it in a way that suits you, which is fine with me. The way I would begin with the students is, in the village of, and you get to choose where you want your story to take place. The only thing I ask is, please choose somewhere in Belize. Somewhere in Belize. Any village, it can be anywhere in Belize, but please make it a village or town or city, but in Belize. In the village of, there lives, and then you're going to write the name of the character that you've chosen and put a full stop. And the rest of your first paragraph, you're going to do the introduction. You're going to give us the setting. And remember, not just saying Tata Duende lives in the forest, but picturing, taking a moment to close your eyes, picture what you're seeing. If you use your 5 senses when you write, it really helps to create that photograph rather than just telling, you're showing. You're showing. So if you're thinking about the forest where he lives, think about naming maybe a few of the flowers you might see or the different kinds of trees. The vines that are dangling down from the ceiba tree, something like that. If you're describing what he's wearing, if he lives in the forest, are his clothes going to be all ironed and starched and cleanly washed? No. So when you describe, if you describe what he's wearing, his coffee-stained shirt was tattered and torn, tucked into pants too short, his boots caked in mud. It just, you can picture that. He was wearing boots. His boots were caked in mud. You can see the difference between the two, okay? So at this point, if you can turn to a clean sheet of paper, and even if you want to tear the paper out of your notebook for this next part, so you can, if you need to flip back and forth to the notes that you've taken, so feel free to tear one out or two. Choose one of the characters that we talked about. So your choices are Tata Duende, La Llorona, Ixtabay, El Cadejo, or Sisamito. So choose just one of those and write it at the top of your paper. And your introductory paragraph, as I was saying, you may start with this line if you want. If you're going to choose a village where your story happens, it has to be in Belize, and then write the character's name. And then for your first paragraph, if you could have at least 5 or 6 sentences that are giving the who, the character traits of the character you've chosen, where you would see this character, where you would find them, and a little bit about what they do in the setting where they live. So that your reader, pretend your reader has no idea who any of these are. They have never heard of them, ever. So begin writing and just enjoy it. Just have fun with it.